In case I didn't already have enough bad boy cred for spending years in jails, prisons, and mental hospitals, or for being a diagnosed psychopath, or for constantly mocking people who threaten to brutally murder me, we can add this to my impressive list of credentials. My YouTube channel is now completely unmonetizable. They keep trying to stop the dizzle. They can't do it because everything they do, I already knew they were going to do it before they did it. Just last month, in my video, YouTube's hate speech hypocrisy, terrorists protected, critics banned, a video about YouTube supporting videos by jihadis who are openly calling for the deaths of ex-Muslims, but banning videos that condemn slaughtering unbelievers in the name of Allah, I said this. Ladies and gentlemen, some of the sickest people on the planet are working for the trust and safety teams of the world's biggest social media platforms, and they get paid to control what you say in order to ultimately control what everyone thinks. Someone like me can't survive forever on one of these platforms. That's why I left Facebook. That's why I left Twitter. I don't think I'll leave YouTube until they kick me off, but let's face it, that's just a matter of time. Could be tomorrow, could be 6 months from now. I suspect they'll demonetize my channel first as some sort of warning, especially since I'm going to start poking at them more regularly. Now, I don't mean to brag, but YouTube demonetized my entire channel Thursday evening, just as I predicted. Let me ask those of you who've been watching me for a while, how often am I wrong in my predictions? I've been in the YouTube Partner Program for more than a decade. They've never said one word about demonetizing my channel, and yet I said they would do it just last month, and they did it. How do I keep being so right? Easy. I'm always thinking, there's where we were 2 years ago. Here's where we are now. So there's where we're going. Trajectories. Don't get too caught up in the moment. Focus on where we're headed. So here's what we find now in the monetization section of my channel. Your channel is no longer eligible to monetize. Why is that, oh YouTube overlords? After reviewing your application, my application from 11 years ago, we found that your channel doesn't follow all of YouTube's monetization policies. What should you do next? 1. Review our feedback. Unfortunately, they never give any meaningful feedback. They don't give any specific information. They never say, you said X and here's why it's hate speech. Instead, they make some vague claim about finding some mysterious hate speech somewhere. Our reviewers found that your channel contains the following: harmful or hateful content. And what is that, oh YouTube overlords? Content that is incendiary, demeaning, or promoting violence or hatred, especially on the basis of protected characteristics. I have well over 1,000 videos on YouTube. Anyone, either in public or in private, ever heard me promote violence or hatred against anyone? Here's where someone will say, yes, you criticize Muhammad and the Quran. You even mock them. Is that promoting violence or hatred? You know, it's strange. I have a PhD in philosophy. About 80% of what you do to get a PhD in philosophy is attack various positions. No one ever says, oh, you criticized my view. You even made fun of my view. You must be calling for hatred and violence against me. But we get to this one book and this one fake prophet, and suddenly criticism is somehow a call for hatred and violence. How does the YouTube Trust and Safety Team justify labeling criticism of Muhammad and the Quran hate speech without also labeling criticism of Jesus and the Bible hate speech? Simple. In their monetization policy description, the trust and safety team geniuses define hateful content as content likely to offend a marginalized individual or group. Notice, your content doesn't have to be hateful or violent. It just has to be something that's likely to offend a marginalized group. Then they declare, almost by magic, that Muslims are a marginalized group while Christians aren't. So you can make fun of Jesus and the Bible all day and it's not hate speech because Christians aren't a marginalized group. But if you make fun of Muhammad and the Quran, it's hate speech because making fun of Muhammad and the Quran is likely to offend Muslims, and Muslims are a marginalized group. So now, if I post a video condemning honor killings, YouTube bans the video and calls it hate speech. If I make a video about Christians being persecuted in parts of the world, YouTube bans the video and calls it hate speech. If I make a video criticizing the Quran's declaration that Jews and Christians are the worst of creatures, YouTube bans the video and calls it hate speech. It's not the Quran that's promoting hatred by calling Jews and Christians the worst of creatures. I'm the one who's promoting hatred by criticizing it. It's also not hate speech when a Muslim YouTuber openly calls for the public beheadings of ex-Muslims.
Yeah, there's a reason why there's a capital punishment. Because people like you, little weaklings who leave their religion and cause corruption in the land by spreading it, the capital punishment in Islamic law would be applied to you. We have no doubt, and we're proud of that. Yeah, capital punishment will be applied in an Islamic state.
That channel is still fully monetized. Why? Well, ex-Muslims aren't a marginalized group, even though they're under an Islamic death sentence. But if you criticize Islam's capital punishment for apostasy, your words are likely to offend a marginalized group, Muslims, and so you would be guilty of hate speech. See how this works? So, the same people who think that any objection to honor killings, to the killing of apostates, to the rape of female captives, to the oppression of religious minorities is hate speech, have demonetized my channel for hate speech that they don't bother to identify. Now, I've been criticizing Muhammad and the Quran for years, so we might be wondering, why did they demonetize my channel at this particular time? But YouTube is screwed up in so many different ways that there are multiple possible answers here. I'll give the top 4 possible explanations, and you can let me know in the comments section which one you think is the most likely reason I was finally demonetized by YouTube. First possible explanation. YouTube has been heading in this direction for years. 10 years ago, Christians, Muslims, atheists, Hindus could all criticize and mock each other's positions all day long. But month after month, year after year, YouTube has become more and more pro-Islamic. It's now built into the fabric of the trust and safety team that no matter what else happens, they must protect the most obvious false prophet in history, a man who had sex with a prepubescent girl, took the wife of his own adopted son, and had sex with his slave girls. Out of everyone who's ever existed, YouTube decided to protect Muhammad from criticism. Since YouTube has become more and more pro-Islamic, pro-Muhammad, pro-Quran, my demonetization could just be the latest example of YouTube protecting its favorite ideology. Second possible explanation. The trust and safety teams of all of the major platforms have been on a banning and demonetization spree this month. We're in the middle of a massive purge. So, my demonetization on Thursday could just be part of the larger purge. Third possible explanation. Early Thursday afternoon, I posted a video about my BitChute channel, and I said this. One of the main reasons that YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram can treat their users like absolute garbage is that they have become monopolies. They have no serious competitors, so they can do whatever they want, and there's nothing anyone can do about it because there's nowhere else to go. If we ever want that to change, we have to support smaller platforms. So I've been uploading my videos not only to YouTube, but also to BitChute, Minds, Rumble, and LBRY. Links to my channels are all in the description box. So I directed any interested viewers to BitChute, Minds, Rumble, and LBRY, 4 alternatives to YouTube. Then I gave a rough sketch of how to take on big tech. So, ladies and gentlemen, it can be done. We, the people, have the power and the ability to control the major platforms by supporting the growth of smaller platforms. Once YouTube and Twitter and Facebook and Instagram have serious rival platforms competing for creators and users, the trust and safety teams of the major platforms are suddenly going to become a lot nicer, a lot more reasonable, and a lot more respectful. They won't be banning you because they disagree with you. They'll be desperate to keep you because if they tick you off, they'll just be sending you to their competitors. And sending creators and users to their competitors is just bad business. Let's make it happen. That was early Thursday afternoon. I don't monetize most of the videos I post because most of my videos could offend a marginalized group, and that's YouTube's definition of hate speech. But this video didn't violate any of YouTube's written policies, so I monetized it. It was automatically rejected because all of my videos are automatically rejected. But since this one obviously didn't violate any policies, I appealed, which means that the video would be sent to a human reviewer at YouTube to decide whether it should be monetized. Side note, the real reason I appeal videos like this is that I want someone at YouTube to watch them. Later that evening, my entire channel was demonetized. So, does YouTube just not like us promoting alternative platforms and punish us when we do? Fourth possible explanation. I have made a number of videos exposing the YouTube trust and safety team for their hypocrisy and moral insanity. A number of those videos were sent to @TeamYouTube on Twitter with a request for a response. They could have demonetized me because I keep calling them out for their hypocrisy and stupidity. I'm undecided, but those are 4 viable explanations. Let me know what you think in the comments section. What am I supposed to do now? Well, I'm supposed to go through my channel and try to guess what they think is hate speech. Since I have more than 1,000 videos, and since the trust and safety team can label anything I say hate speech, the only way to figure this out would be to delete all of my videos, and that's not going to happen. What I'm really supposed to do is contact YouTube and start groveling, asking them what they want me to take down, changing what I talk about and the way I do things, begging them to remonetize my channel. I assume that someone is going to send this video to @TeamYouTube on Twitter, so I can reply directly to the trust and safety team. Most excellent trust and safety team. You now expect your content creators to align our moral compasses with your moral compass. The problem is, I think that the trust and safety teams of all of the major platforms are composed entirely of the most revolting people in the world. You're basically telling me to keep my mouth shut when fathers are killing their daughters for walking down the street without a male escort, and when grooming gangs are drugging and gang raping young girls, and when members of religious minorities are being kidnapped and forcibly converted. Sorry, trust and safety losers, but my speech and my thoughts and my moral values aren't for sale. And if you think you can make me change my speech and thoughts and moral values so that I can keep getting a paycheck from you, let me say, you can keep your blood money, you honor-killing enabling, apostate-killing enabling, terrorist attack enabling, Christian persecution enabling, morally insane cowards. The little bit of power you have has gone to your heads, and now you want us to kiss your behinds. But I would rather pucker up and kiss the decayed, fish-eaten corpse of Osama bin Laden on the mouth than kiss up to a bunch of egomaniacal morons sitting in your safe spaces at YouTube headquarters. One of the main reasons I criticize Islam is that Islam demands that I be controlled by the teachings of an illiterate 7th century Arabian caravan robber, and I don't want to be controlled by the teachings of an illiterate 7th century Arabian caravan robber. But I also don't want to be controlled by some power-tripping techno sheep who think they get to shout orders at us because Daddy YouTube gave them ban buttons on their company laptops. Screw you and the narcissism that drives you. Glad we got that cleared up. Now, to everyone else, especially to people who were channel members and people who contributed super chats, you can continue supporting my channels through Patreon or Subscribestar for now, because who knows how these crowdfunding platforms are going to react to the relentless pressure to cancel everyone who refuses to submit to the ideological cookie cutter. Fortunately, I have a bunch of supporters on Patreon already, so this isn't a situation where demonetization by YouTube could cause my kids to starve, although that seems like the goal of these trust and safety teams. The timing is a little bad. I've been using a sizable portion of my Patreon funds to help other people's channels. If you're one of the channels I support, know that I'm going to try to keep supporting your work, but the YouTube demonetization might change some things, so we'll see what happens. Also, my wife and I realized that we need to finally install a wheelchair lift in our van. We've been using a ramp for the past 3 years, but as our 2 disabled sons have gotten bigger, the ramp isn't working out as well. My wife accidentally started going over the edge of the ramp last month with my son Paley. No injuries. We caught the wheelchair and got Paley back up on the ramp. But we need a lift installed, and the estimate I got was roughly 8 times higher than I thought it would be. So losing income right now doesn't help, but we can always do a GoFundMe for something like that. The main reason the timing of the demonetization was bad here is that John McRae and I came up with some pretty big plans for the next 2 years. We're starting some new channels to cover some other things we're interested in, and we're putting together a course for Christian content creators. We're going to use our new channels as examples of how to build channels from scratch so that other people can follow along and build their own channels. We were planning to hire some people to help us crank out more content, and we wanted to have a studio up and running in about a year. Anything like that might be a bit more difficult now that we just don't know who's going to ban what or which platform is going to demonetize us. But I think we'll still be able to keep moving forward with most of our plans, even with some bumps along the way. These trust and safety teams never seem to remember that no one comes to a platform for the trust and safety team. People come to a platform for the content, and we create the content. The trust and safety team doesn't bring people to the platform. Creators do. I wonder if they'll eventually realize that treating creators like garbage when creators bring people to the platform just isn't the best plan for long-term success. Here's the cool part in all of this. You'd think that it would be kind of depressing to get demonetized after spending 11 years in the partner program. You'd think that finding out you're being targeted and that the platform you've been using for more than a decade is about to kick you off would be upsetting. But for my entire life, when people come after me, especially if it's people who have some kind of power to go after others, I get this burst of energy and this burst of focus, and my brain becomes this unstoppable fire hose of awesome ideas about how to respond. So let me tell you, as a man who doesn't have a lot of feelings, I'm feeling pretty good right now. If this channel should mysteriously disappear, you know where to find me.